Mr. Kip Sorensen, what's going on this morning, man?
Not much. Where are you?
I'm in a spare bedroom of my in-laws' house in Southern Utah for we're leaving tomorrow. So I've been here for about a week. So
Okay.
we did an early Thanksgiving here with the family. All of my wife's family came in, all her siblings and everything from Nashville to Kentucky
Oh, that's
to
great.
Salt Lake. They all came down here for an early Thanksgiving, and then we head home tomorrow. And I've enjoyed it, but I'm ready to get back to and
Yeah.
back to home and back to work.
So how long have you been in Southern Utah? A week or a
Yeah,
little
about a
short than a
week.
week?
I think we
Okay.
got here like Monday of last week, so about a week
Okay.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I asked just because my wife and I, we can't, we've determined we're probably about a 4 day, 5 day max. So if we go on holiday somewhere around about 4 or 5 days, we're like, yeah, I'm done. Let's get back to our routines.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I am too, but all of our family is here. I say our family, it's her all of her family is here. The kids have all their friends here. My work is remote, so here I am in this bedroom. So it isn't ideal, but I can make it work. Like I've brought all my microphone and audio equipment with me, so it's manageable. And I've
yeah.
actually got a lot more done than I thought because I really planned what I wanted to get done. So between the eating and the cards and the visiting and all this, I have been able to get some work done, which has been good because I'd go
Nice.
crazy if I wasn't able to. But if you guys
Copy that.
ordered anything from the store, it's all backed up right now. So we'll get back. We do this all the time. And, this is one of the pros and cons of having us as a family run our merchandise store is when we all leave, orders don't get filled. So
Yeah.
if you ordered something in the last week, I hope you saw the banner on the store that said, hey, we're not shipping until I think the 24th, I believe. But we're going to ship those the 24th, 25th, get caught up on everything. Your stuff is coming, guys. I appreciate you being patient. And to me, it's a small price to pay for me anyways, to maybe limit or hinder the store growth over the past week to know that, my son is doing it. My other children are doing it and they're learning and growing. And that's just
Yeah.
the trade-off that we have.
Well,
Like I
and
can
now
hire
we'll
it out,
know.
but
Now we'll know if your son gets kicked out of future family vacations. It's because he's taking a hit for the team and he's keeping the store
yeah,
running.
actually, we've been so busy lately, and I plan on releasing at least one new shirt a month moving forward. And we've been
Yeah.
so busy lately that we're outgrowing our space in our house. So I've
Already.
actually
Yeah.
been looking for some sort of shop or storefront or little mini warehouse there in Franklin County in Maine, and potentially moving into that and then hiring somebody else part time to help us ship orders, which is cool.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to see the growth of that.
That's funny. Yeah. You talk to Littlefield, man, get a little corner there in the Jocko Fuel space just for
I
order,
don't know
man.
if they have. I don't know if they have any space in theirs. Every time I turn around, they've outgrown a new space. So
Yeah.
there's not a whole
That's
lot of
funny.
space there between what they have, and they have actually. I don't know if you saw last time you were out there, in the back corner, they have it marked off. And I don't know how big the segment is, but it's all AstroTurf
Yeah.
and it's for lacrosse. So Pete has the lacrosse teams practice there and stuff like that in the winter when they
Copy.
can't get outside. So I don't know how much space there is even in there.
That's
It's
funny.
crazy. Yeah.
Cool,
All right,
man.
man. Well, let's
Holidays
get to
are
some questions.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to field questions really from two primary sources. One, the Foundry, which is the system in which we use in the Iron Council. To learn more about the Iron Council, you can go to orderman.com/Iron Council. We have a few questions there from a few weeks
And
ago, and then
hold
we'll
on,
hop right
Kip,
into
on
the
that
Facebook
one.
group. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And on that one, guys, if you do go check out the Iron Council, I highly suggest that you
Good point.
check it out. It's closed right now, though. So, and I've
Yeah.
gotten a lot of messages from you guys. And so I appreciate the level of interest. We want you there. We're excited to have you join us, but you won't be able to join us until December 1st. It's closed right now. Kip and I had, in fact, actually spent about 15 minutes working through just some structuring and logistics before we even started recording this podcast, because there's some structural changes that we're making to the Iron Council that I think will be advantageous for existing brothers inside the Iron Council and for new members coming in. So
Yeah.
check it out, drop your email in there, and then on December 1st, I'll shoot you an email, let you know we're open, and then you can decide to join us at that point.
Excellent. All right. And then we'll field questions from the Facebook group as well. To join us there, go to facebook.com/group/orderman. All right. Foundry questions or Iron Council questions. Nicholas Myers How to get out of the lone wolf mentality due to not wanting to disappoint your battle team or let them down if you're not hitting your numbers or any other reasons. And obviously Nicholas's questions around battle teams, but maybe just around life in general.
Yeah, let's talk about battle teams in the Iron Council. So what he's talking about is groups of teams that we work in within the Iron Council, and they're anywhere from 10 to 15 men in those teams. And so you're feeling guilty for not hitting your numbers, and you're wondering how you can get out of that guilt. What the hell? Like, that would be like, look, with all due respect, that's like asking, hey, I feel really bad that I'm 50 pounds overweight. How do I not feel bad? Lose 50 pounds.
No, stay away from you. So then that way I'm not confronted with my lack of integrity.
Look, man,
the other one's mine's easier.
It's easier for sure. Well, no, it's not actually. It's not easier. It's easier to not do anything, but you're still going to feel like shit. And that's not easy. Mentally, that's tough. All of us have been in difficult times, and we felt guilty and ashamed and remorseful about our decisions and our actions. That's not easy. That's hard. So how do you get over the guilt of not reporting your numbers and not doing your work inside your battle team? Report your numbers, do the work. That's the point. Was it Nick?
Yeah.
Dude, that's why you joined the Iron Council. I guarantee, I'd be willing to bet that one of the things that you wanted most when you joined the Iron Council was this word that everybody throws around called accountability. Well, look, brother, now you got it. You asked for it. You got it. This is accountability. Yeah. So if you actually don't want accountability, then maybe the Iron Council is at the right place. And then you can go do the lone wolf thing. I'm hoping you don't do that. I'm not even encouraging you to do that. I'm encouraging you to follow through on what you said you wanted, which was accountability. And now you got 12 guys who are saying, hey, where's your numbers? Why aren't you reporting? Why aren't you participating? Why aren't you giving back to what we're giving to you? And hopefully that will encourage you to the point where you will do that instead of withdrawing. So you have a couple options. You have a couple of choices. One is, retreat. Hey, this is too uncomfortable. I don't like this. I'm not going to report my numbers. I feel guilty. And so I'm going to default back into my old patterns. You could do that. Or you could say, hey, I don't like this. I feel guilty. I feel ashamed. I'm not reporting my numbers. So therefore, I will start to do the work and I will begin to report my numbers. That's why we set it up the way we set it up. So actually, what a lot of people think is that, oh, I shouldn't feel guilty, or I shouldn't feel sad, or I shouldn't feel this way, or I shouldn't feel that way. No, actually, you should feel guilty. You should be slightly ashamed of not following through on your commitments.
Yeah. Because
that's going to drive you to make better decisions. So make different choices so you don't feel guilty.
Yeah.
Like this morning, give an example this morning.
Oh, good.
I've been really trying to eat clean. Well, I went to the gas station, I got a drink, and there was a breakfast burrito right there.
Ooh.
And it was delicious. It was a Maverick steak breakfast burrito. And I'm like,
I put that in the healthy category, but whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And put it wherever you want. You know, it isn't. So I got myself a steak breakfast burrito and I ate it and it was so good. And about 2 minutes later, I'm like, man, what is wrong with you? And so I felt guilty, right? I felt ashamed because, okay, that's the point. You should feel like that.
Yeah.
Yes. And then tomorrow, I'm going to have another burrito. No, I'm just kidding. Tomorrow, I'm going to try to remember how I felt and make a better decision.
Yeah. And I think sometimes for those on the other end, we need to remember that same principle, right? In Nicholas's case, his battle team, they may say, you know what? I don't want to bring this up because I don't want Nick to feel bad, right? Or I don't want to do this because guess what? He should feel a little bit bad. He's not honoring his word, and that's okay. And so we sometimes avoid that conversation because we don't want people to feel bad. And really what I'm hearing, Ryan, and I think we're in agreement, is like, it's okay. Like, you should actually feel a little guilty when you're out of integrity. These are things that help drive us to improve. Like, that's okay. It's, oh, I feel like a slob because my house is a mess. Yeah, you probably are a slob. You should probably change that, right? Versus, oh no, it's okay, Ryan, you're busy. We understand. It's like, no, like, you kind of should feel that way. There's a reason.
Well, and look, if you're if you're the individual who might be helping hold somebody accountable, like in this case, you're on the battle team, or even if you notice one of your friends really slacking, or your children are not making good decisions, it is tempting to say, well, I don't want them to feel bad. But look, I don't want Nick to feel bad, but I care more about Nick and his performance and his growth and his improvement and him getting better than me risking maybe being somewhat offensive, because he could listen to this and be offended. And that is a risk that I'm willing to take on, because I care enough about him to tell him the truth. And so many of you guys are like, well, you know, I don't want to hurt anybody. So I don't want to offend. Well, then you don't care about him. You care more about your feelings than you do about the overall success of that person. Something to weigh.
And that comes from a place that you and I both know that we're all on a path. We're not perfect. You're not perfect. Right. And this is part of standing up for other individuals, is by being honest with them and communicating what they probably need to improve. Like, you know, so if Nick's listening, which I'm sure he is, you know, this comes from a place of like us trying to help, right? This is how we stand together. This is how men band together and help each other, by being straight, not by going, oh, you know what, Nick, you know, and just skirting around the issue. Yeah. All right. There you go. Rex Huston, not a question. All right. Next guy, Tyson's joking. All right, Rex, we'll pretend. So not a question. He says, but if you had not shared the story about BNI, which I don't think you have, but he talks about it here around what you told the club president around moments to speak. And he thinks, you know, that would be a great story to share. He says, I find that most guys are like this is actually funny. I find that most guys are like the closing scene of Dumber and Dumber, that they tell the bikini bus, the town is 3 miles away. And then they go on complaining about how they never get a break. Right. So he says, I call it cultivating coincidence. Some guys appear lucky because they are prepared to, for the breaks that they get. Others go through life unprepared and the breaks just pass them by.
I really like that term. I wrote it down, cultivating coincidence.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it too.
That's cool. Yeah. All right. So what he's referring to is, for a long time, I was part of an organization called BNI, Business Network International. In fact, I had the founder, Dr. Ivan Meisner, on the podcast probably a couple of years ago. It was a really powerful discussion. So BNI, really briefly, it's an organization where professionals, service professionals, get together on a weekly basis, and we share each other's businesses, and then we pass referrals. That's the whole point of it. And, you know, you have anywhere from maybe 15 to 30 to 40 members, and we're all passing referrals back and forth to each other because we know each other and we get to know each other and each other's businesses. So one thing that I realized fairly quickly when I joined Business Network International is that each and every week, you either have one or two guest speakers present for about 5 to 10 minutes on their particular business in order to teach other people about how to sell and how to market and how to get referrals for you.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting because inevitably we had people who either weren't prepared for their scheduled time, or they just didn't show up. They were a no-show, or last minute they had to cancel or couldn't make it. And I thought, man, what a shame. These people have an amazing opportunity to present their business to other people who want to give them referrals. Almost like this, it's a free sales force.
Yeah.
It's a sales pitch, but you're also educating a sales force. Now I'm talking about my business and telling 40 people how to sell my business. What an amazing opportunity. And so I'd see these people who wouldn't show up. And I went to the presidency and I said, hey, look, I want you to know that at any point, if anybody can't make it, doesn't want to present, you need somebody to fill in for whatever reason, you can give me exactly a 10-second notice and I will be ready to present at any given point. And so I would. And I got the lion's share of presenting opportunities. And I later found out that there was a couple of people who didn't like that, right? They complained.
Oh, why is he presenting all the time? Yeah.
That's what it was. They complained. They're like, how come Ryan gets so many opportunities to present? And I only present once every 6 months or whatever it is. And the answer is like, well, because he said he would. And I always kind of got a chuckle out of the fact that professionals couldn't talk about their business for 5 to 10 minutes at the drop of a hat. Like, you should always be able to do that.
Yeah, totally.
And so I got the lion's share of presentation opportunities because I asserted myself into this situation. I cultivated the coincidence, as Rex would say.
Yeah.
This is a lesson in asserting yourself. And so many of us are passive. We're waiting for people to give us opportunities. We're waiting for permission. We're hoping somebody comes to us and knocks on our door and says, congratulations, all of your dreams are going to come true now because
Yeah.
I'm going to bestow this upon you. No, go get it. Go take it.
Yeah.
And to those individuals who were upset that I got the presenting time, like, you can do the same thing. There's nothing to keep you from doing it. So don't be upset that I did it. Be upset that you didn't think about it and then course correct.
Yeah, for sure. I find this interesting. I almost feel like I have to disclose. So I'm totally not that. Like, I am. In fact, I was just talking with my wife last night about this very problem. And I did flag this as a problem of mine. But my default mentality has always been work hard, bust your ass, opportunities present themselves. And I seldom ever sit back and go, hey, you know what? I really want this. And you know what I mean? And I strategize and actually communicate that out. I have never done that in my career, ever. And I can't help but think, now it's kind of worked out well for me. Like, I consider myself well off, right? And I've had great success in life, but then I can't help but think, man, you know what? I wonder how many more opportunities would have presented themselves if I was just more assertive and said, hey, you know what? Guess what? I have this plan. This is my strategy. This is what I'm looking for, and set some expectation, and probably a whole lot of heartache because of my approach of just kind of heads down work and let people notice, you know, and come to me saying, hey, Kip, you're doing great. Let me give you this opportunity. The problem is when those opportunities don't present themselves, I go around feeling unappreciated. Right. Because I have these expectations of like, man, I'm busting my ass and it's not being seen, or these opportunities or these expectations of opportunities that I think I should be getting aren't showing up. And I make it mean that, well, I must not be valued in their eyes, or they must not see it. And then I just go upset, kind of, to be frank, you know, having a covert contract with individuals in my life. You know what I'm saying?
Well, look, here's something. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Everyone is lazy. That includes your boss.
Yeah.
So
even if
boss,
they see the opportunity, they're just like, I don't have time to go talk to Kip about it. Nah.
And then if you went to him and you said, hey, boss, I know you're looking for somebody to head up this project, and it's got to be a challenge because there's a lot of moving parts. And I came up with this 5-step plan. Here you go. He's going to look at it. Odds are he's going to look at it and be like, yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. You want to do that?
Yeah.
Because he's lazy, just like you are.
Yeah.
And so we can capitalize.
Yeah.
Maybe, but lazy.
Yeah.
Just capitalize on it. That's all you have to do. And you do it with integrity, and you do it with class and honor and tact, but just capitalize on it. Look, you said, I'm not like this. Kip, I'm not like this either. Because you and I talk about the natural man a lot, right?
Yeah.
Well, and this goes to what I'm saying. The natural man is he's lazy. He's weak. He's immediate gratification. He wants the results without the effort. So I'm not that either, but I want it. So I have to cultivate that. I have to actually work towards asserting myself. And so what I used to do is I used to go around and look at the success that everybody else had. And my response was, well, why do they have that? Why do they have oh, well, must be nice to have all those opportunities. And it's like, it was exhausting.
Yeah.
And it actually didn't produce any results for me. So I learned through mentorship and reading and other information that I had access to that, well, just go assert yourself. And so that's what I started to do. And lo and behold, I started to get the same opportunities that all the people that I was looking at and admired and respected were getting. And I started to run in their circles. And now people say it to me. Well, Ryan, it must be nice to be able to know that person. Must be nice to be able to then make that money or have access to this. Yeah, it actually is really nice. But that doesn't mean I didn't work for it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I wonder, for some guys, there's a level of validation seeking, I think, that seeks into this as well, right? Where if if I come to you, Ryan, with this idea, it's like, well, did he agree just because I asked, or do you get what I'm saying?
Oh, I get
or
what you're
is
saying,
it,
but the
or
answer
is,
is it doesn't matter.
yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like in my mind, I think some guys, they may not be as assertive because they're seeking validation and confirmation of something.
That's
You know
fine.
what I mean?
Look, you can
Yeah.
be a validated loser,
Yeah.
or you can go out there and assert yourself, and maybe somebody only gave you the job because you were the first person to ask, and then you can win. So I'd rather win and maybe have some sort of weird belief about my damaged, fragile ego, or I can sit
Mhm.
on the couch and lose, but maintain that pride and that ego that I have. Like, choose.
Yeah. 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 Good point. All right, Tyson Junkers. In one of your last Ask Me Anythings, you were asked about your top tips for marketing a new business. I want to add to that question. What are your marketing tips for a business that challenges the norm? I am opening a private school with a system that goes against the standard curriculum in both public and private schools. Do you have any other advice for marketing towards families to pique their curiosity? I'm not trying to beg them to come to the school, but show them another option that exists in the world that has gone mad.
So, first and foremost, Rex and Tyson, I'm just going to apologize on behalf of Kip and say that we know that your name is Rex Houston,
I said Rex
and
Houston.
you said Huston, I think you said.
Oh, no, I didn't.
And we
Rex.
know that
No, I didn't.
Tyson, your last name is
Don't
pronounced
don't hit
Yonkers. We
rewind. I said it
understand that.
right.
All
And
right,
what did
Rex
I say?
and Tyson, we know that.
Okay, what did I
Okay?
say for Tyson's name?
Junkers.
What did I say?
That's what you said.
Is it not Tyson Junkers?
Yonkers.
Tyson, you need to
he's
spell
back.
your name right.
Tyson and Rex both needs to be
your name's spelled
Yunkers, and Houston is with an O. Rex, come on
Is
now.
Yonkers? Oh, hold on. So JH. So what is that? I don't know. It's not English. Next. You know what? We're skip Tyson's question.
It's not. It is not.
All
it is
right.
not American. That is true. It's not like
All right.
Smith.
All right,
It's-
Yonkers.
So yeah.
All
All right. What was the question? All right. So marketing. So that challenged the status quo or the norm.
Yeah. Marking around it. Yeah.
I mean, look, Tyson, I know what you're doing. You're working through Apogee, which is the program that Matt Boudreau and Tim Kennedy have going on. I think Matt's in California and Tim's obviously in Texas. I think, Tyson, you're going to be down in Florida. So I know what you're doing. It's alternative schooling for, I don't know if it's exclusively for young men, but I really, really like the idea. And just the fact of what you're doing is actually challenging the status quo, which gives you a huge advantage. Because if you lean into it, and most people won't do this, most people will not lean into things that challenge the status quo.
Why not? Why don't
Because
they?
it's scary. It's scary, right? Like you're going to have pushback and you're going to have people who think it's a bad idea. And maybe it's not as tested as some of these other ideas of traditional schooling. So there's risk involved. But that is actually what makes it a really good thing, is the fact that it does challenge the status quo. And again, don't run away from it, lean into it. So call out public schooling, talk about what's wrong with public schooling. Again, you're going to get a lot of pushback on that. You're going to get a lot of vitriol and hostility. I do. Every time I say homeschool your kids, people's minds explode and their faces melt and they go
Just
rabid.
lose their shit.
They do. They
So
really
interesting.
do.
I don't understand how that's a threat to people. I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah,
I get it. Like, because I'm saying homeschool your children, and so people that send their kids to public school think that I'm calling them bad parents or something. That's the conclusion they might jump to. Or
Got it.
even school teachers might think that I have something against school teachers. I actually don't. I have something against the system, but I know plenty of school teachers who I really admire and respect. I just think they're part of a system that is not in the best interest of our children.
Well, and they want to promote the system in which they work in. So you mentioned private schools and homeschooling. It disrupts what they do, right?
Well, and look, I mean, these school teachers, they put in a lot of work and a lot of effort. They've got plenty of post-secondary education. They're fully vested. They actually care. I know they care about their kids for the most part. 99% of them do.
Yeah.
And they've got a lot of work inside the classroom, but even outside of the classroom with having to do the administrative stuff. There's a lot to it. I get it. And so if I'm saying homeschool your children, well, they might interpret that as an insult to their profession and what they're doing.
Yeah, I see that.
So what I would say, and this is very broad and generalized, Tyson, but lean into the fact that you are challenging the status quo. And the more that you do that, obviously, the more pushback you're going to get, but the more you're going to be able to step outside of the norms, the more people are going to see you. You're not going to be lost in this sea of sameness. I'll give you a very small example. When I went to basic training in 99, I was fortunate enough to do a couple of trainings with the National Guard section that I was going to be training with. And one of the guys said, hey, as you're going to basic training, just remember your whole goal is to blend in. It's such a foreign concept to me. Blend in.
Yeah.
Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to do that? And I get it, in the military, the whole concept is standardization, but really, who gets the promotion? Well, the person who stands out, right? So it's just not good advice.
Yeah. The only time that's applicable is like an active shooter situation.
Right. In combat. Right. Is that what you mean? In combat, like conceal and cover? Like that's what you mean, right? No. At any point, just blend in. Don't get singled out.
Yeah.
I think that's horrible advice. You need to stand out. Everything that you do needs to be different. You need to use different colors, different fonts, different concepts, different ways of speaking, different ideas. You need to challenge the status quo. You need to go on the offense when everybody else is going on the defense. The more that you do things differently, the more you're going to stand out and the better off you're going to be. So I know that's very broad and generalized, but man, with what you guys are doing, Matt and Tim and Tyson, you're in a perfect position to challenge the status quo. You're going to piss off a bunch of people, but you're really going to advocate for the people who believe in what it is you're doing.
And it makes your unique selling proposition like super clear.
Easy.
Right. Yeah. Literally easier to market. All right.
Yeah. I mean, look, part of the reason that we do as well as we do is because I'm willing to be confrontational. You know, the running joke with my wife and I is I wake up, she wakes up and she says to me, who are you going to piss off today?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know. The answer is I don't know yet, but I'm sure it'll be somebody. And I don't set out to piss people off, but I'm certainly willing to risk pissing people off in order to spread a message I think is crucial in today's culture.
Yeah. Copy. All right. Hopping over to Facebook, facebook.com/group/order man. James Oldham, quick question. Just kind of a fun one. Which is your favorite, gi or no gi?
My favorite's gi. Yeah. Just because I train 98% gi. When we were at immersion camp, I trained with this guy and he's like clearly a no-gi guy.
Yeah.
And we were doing no-gi and he's like, yeah, you want to train? I'm like, yeah, sure. I'd love to. And he just completely embarrassed me.
Yeah.
Like just demolished me. And he's been training for longer, so I expected it would take place. But to the level that it was, the discrepancy between his game and mine was astronomical. And I said to myself, well, it's, because you train gi and I train no, like, yes, of course, those are the excuses. And I don't have an excuse. It's just that I happen to train more gi than no gi. It's very, in principle, it's the same, but it really changes the whole dynamic of,
And I
you like gi, you like no gi, don't you, Kip?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm on
like you're more of a no-gi guy, if I had to guess.
Yeah. Sometimes when I train no-gi, I'm like, damn, I love this. This is so fun. But then I love I think there becomes more technicality and scenarios and more risks and grips and just more in play when there's the gi on. You know what I mean? There's just so much more that you have to be concerned about. So I like that aspect of it as well, but I like the movement of no-gi. I like the idea that it's very hard for the game to get locked in,
stale and
stalemate.
Sure.
Yeah.
See,
and
that's the difference. I think for me is and I think this is the difference even between our styles. I like pressure. I want to be close. I want to feel the pressure. I want to put the pressure on. I want everything to be super tight and compact.
Yeah.
I love that game. And that bodes well with no-gi because I can hold people where I want them to.
Yeah.
or with gi, excuse me. Yes.
Yeah.
Because I can hold people down with lapels and sleeves and bring them in, hold them tight, keep them close to me. And you just don't have those same options. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, with gi. It's much more with no gi, excuse me. It's much more dynamic and flowy, I think, than gi is.
Yeah, it's certainly hard, but it's interesting though, because I remember when I started doing more no-gi, I thought, man, it's impossible to hold someone. That's not true.
It's not right.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's different, right?
Different.
You're like holding hips and it evolves a little bit. But I do think that game goes both ways, right? Like I think the gi guy that's doing a lot of gi goes no-gi and goes, man, it's hard to hold on to this guy. But it also goes the other way where the no-gi guy gets on a gi and thought, shit, I can't move, right? Like,
right.
I can't, like, I'm locked in. I can't scramble out of stuff as easily. And so I don't know. Those games are just, I think they complement each other to kind of what you're alluding to earlier.
100%. It's the principles.
Yeah, they're just so fun. I don't know. Both of it's fun. So I don't know. Probably a little bit more no-gi. Yeah, I think you're right. I probably prefer that a little bit more just because I feel more like I can get out of anything. So
I mean, well, I just think it bodes well to your game. I guess here's the other thing I would say is train more of whatever you don't typically train as.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say. Like, I need to train more no-gi than I currently do. And so, you know, that round out your game. I think that's important too.
Yeah. And they help each other. They don't take
It's only going to make your other game better. Sure.
Yeah, totally. All right. Nick Taylor, I'm 32. I finally know what I'm passionate enough about to pursue on the side until it takes off. Public speaking on solutions that society struggles with highly, I'm confident that I have ideas that would blow other speakers out of the park, but I'm frightened of speaking. Any advice?
Well, first, you actually don't know if you have topics that are going to blow other speakers out of the park. You actually don't know that
until you test it. Yeah,
that's right. You got to test it.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't have known that the ideas and the concepts we're sharing here in Order of Man would have been so successful if I wouldn't have gone out and tested. And so what you might have happen is, because you think so highly of yourself, is that you go out and you share this concept or this idea and you're like, this is going to blow everybody out of the water. And it absolutely flops. So just take a couple of steps down the stairs, the pedestal, right? Just a couple, not all the way, because there is a healthy level of confidence that you need to have. So I don't want you to step all the way off. I just want you to take a couple steps down. And if you're terrified of public speaking, then start small. We talked about Business Network International. Okay, well, if you can go present for 5 to 10 minutes in front of a captive audience of 20 people, 30 people, then you can begin to test and experiment and see what really works and what doesn't. I'll give you a small story. At the main event, I shared the story, I think you remember, Kip, of how we found the house that we're in the barn. And, you know, my wife was so excited about it and she didn't even have to go in and look at it. And then I told the story of how I was like, well, hold on a second. And then how I came into the barn. I'm like, we'll take it. Right. Like, you remember that story?
Yeah, of course.
I've told that story probably 24 times. The first time I ever told it, it was like, okay, yeah. The last time I told it, it's funny. It's hysterical. Yeah. Because I worked on it.
Yeah. You work some angles, figure out what worked, what didn't work.
That's right.
Yeah, totally.
That's right. So the same is true about any public speaking. Is the first time you get up on stage, it's going to be a little clunky. You're going to be a little awkward. Your stories might not land as well as you think they should, but that's why you test it in a controlled, small environment. And you actually look at it like a test, not like, oh, this is going to blow it out of the water. You're actually going there to experiment, because what that allows you to do is look for cues and feedback from your audience that will help you refine it, hone it, fine tune it, and make it better the next time you go to speak to 50 people instead of 20 people.
Totally.
So if you're terrified of public speaking, look for opportunities to speak in public. Rotary, BNI, maybe there's an opportunity at work to present. Maybe you can give a lesson or a seminar from the pulpit at church, or teach a men's group, or maybe you can get a group of guys together and you just talk for 5 minutes before the event about why it's so important we're here together. just look for those opportunities to get in front of groups of people and share ideas, concepts, etc., and then look at it as experimentation so you can continue to improve and get better.
Totally. And Nick, it might be the ideas may be solid. You may be spot on. They may be excellent, but how you explain them or the language you use may not be spot on yet.
Yes.
Right. And a good example, like I'm doing this right now. So at my current job, I am officially over culture. And so I'm heads down, like I'm totally nerding out about this, right? Like what literally makes company culture? How do you drive this? And you know what I mean? What are these different aspects, whether they be mindsets and guidelines and all this kind of stuff? And I'm tempted. Of course, I think my idea is brilliant and how this is going to work, right? And I might be tempted to package this bad boy up and implement. No. So what I'm doing is going, hey, I need to talk to the chief people officer over at another company. I want to run my idea by him. And then I'm going to go to another company and pitch my idea, not to convince them. This is their specialty. I'm going to run my ideas by the experts already and say, does this work? What am I missing? Right. And go directly to the source of people that would see this differently. So in your case, you're talking about solutions that society struggles with. Well, go find those people that already have an opinion about solutions that society struggles with and run your ideas through them. And you're going to get probably way further on down that path of figuring out the right message a lot quicker when you talk to those individuals.
Yeah, I agree. You know, Kip, there's one other thing, and then we'll move on to the next question that I thought here. There's a mindset shift that I think most public speakers or those who are trying to present an idea in public need to remember. And here's the shift. You need to move from serving yourself to serving others.
Yeah.
So the fear doesn't come from your worry about serving other people. The fear comes from serving yourself.
Yeah.
How am I going to be viewed?
Yeah.
What are people going to think of me? Are they going to buy my product or my good or my service? And so I would suggest that instead you go with an attitude to say, what do these people need from me? What are their problems? What are they struggling with? What solutions do I have that would help them fill those problems? It does another thing too. When you're listening to an audience or you're collecting feedback, and we are as we're presenting, and you're seeing what stories are landing and what aren't, if you go with an attitude to serve, you'll be able to adjust on the fly. You'll adjust your presentation based on the feedback you're receiving. So if the audience isn't participating, and I've had that, I've realized this isn't working, shift. And usually when I make that shift, it becomes much more of a participation versus a presentation. And so I look for little strategies and ways to get the audience involved, even if that's just telling a joke or fielding a question or asking a question of somebody specific in the audience. And it changes when your attitude is to serve rather than to be served.
Totally. Yeah. I'm sure if we look back at the main event, there are probably numerous instances where you were like thinking one thing and you're like, you know what, like whether it's a gut feeling or feedback, body languages or whatever, where you're like, you know what, this needs to be said. And it's not, this needs to be said so I look better. It's no, something's needed here for the people that we're serving. Let's now talk about something else, or let's change the conversation slightly.
That's right. That's right.
Cool. All right. Joseph Medeiros, I'm planning on proposing. Help a brother out here. I'm planning on proposing to my girlfriend in December. She ended up figuring out the exact day that I was going to propose. Should I do it on the same day or change it? I'm going with change it.
Oh, I am too. Do it 2 days earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. Not later.
Not later. That's trouble, bro.
That's a bad idea. Don't do that. Yeah.
That's trouble.
Like,
that's trouble. I heard my wife had created this ultimatum in her mind about if I didn't propose by a certain time, she was done. And if I remember correctly, it was Valentine's Day. And I didn't do it on Valentine's Day because that's lame. But I actually ended up doing it later, and she was bugged, until I did ask her. But yeah, don't do it later. Do it earlier. And you'll be good.
All right. There you go. All right. Will Luna, I'm a junior high school coach. What manly values would the both of you want to instill in these young individuals?
Wow. All right. So there's a lot to unpack. First, I commend you. This is one of the things that we talk a lot about is serving young men in your community. And this is exactly what you're doing. And also to go back to our public school thing that we were talking about, this is why in spite of a system that I think is at best struggling, at worst broken, there's still individuals who, I don't know if you're just a coach or you're also a school teacher at the junior high or whatever, but there's individuals that I still honor and celebrate and appreciate because of what they do for the kids they're serving. Okay, so what's manly skills? I think one of the things that goes overlooked in society is aggression. And in sports, you have the perfect opportunity to teach them how to harness their competitive, aggressive, even dominant and violent at times nature into something that's productive for themselves and for their team. And what I want you to remember is it basketball? Is that what he said?
Wrestling.
Oh, wrestling. Sorry.
Yeah.
What I want, which is a way better winter sport than basketball. Let's just get that out of the way right now.
I'll be honest, I wasn't on that train. I would be now, but when I was in high school, it was hoops all the way. But
we're saying manly characteristics, so I should have just assumed and known that it was wrestling, and not basketball.
Well, that singlet didn't seem very manly when I was in high school. I'm sorry.
For me, it was. It just depends on how you're packing down there. So I had no issues at all, Kip. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh man, I was like, there's no way in hell I'm wearing that thing. Yeah.
Dude, I went to so the first year I wrestled, I was a backup to one of our guys on our team. He was really good. And the guy that my coach said, "Hey, you need to come to the tournament." And I'm like, "Yeah, great. Do I need to bring my stuff and whatever?" He's like, "Oh no, don't bring your stuff because you're just going to just watch and observe." And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." Well, come to find out, and I can't remember if either the guy got hurt or a couple of schools ended up having additional wrestlers at that weight.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Well, you're going to wrestle." And I was like, "Well, coach, like, I don't have anything. You told me not to bring anything." He's like, "It's okay. I used to coach at the school. I can get you a singlet." And this was I think it was in Paiute or Panguitch. I can't remember. So I'm like, "Okay, well, fine." So I was probably 140, 150 pounds, whatever that weight class is. I don't remember a whole lot of this because it was like 20 something years ago. And I said, "Well, that's fine. I can wrestle in this singlet or whatever." So he goes into the wrestling room and he brings me back there. He's like, "All right, here you go." I'm like, "Coach, this is a small." He's like, "Yeah, it's all they have." I'm like, "I'm not wrestling in this, coach. Like, I'm not wrestling in this." He's like, "No, you're part of the team. And if you forfeit, that hurts the team. You are going to wrestle in this." I'm like, "Oh my gosh. Are you serious?" Like, "I'm dead serious." So I put this thing on, man. It's like so tight and, talk about everything being visible. And I'm like, I look in the mirror and a singlet's already bad enough, let alone one that's 2 sizes too small for you.
Yeah.
And I put on some shoes that he had found or whatever. And I go out onto the mat and no joke, people are laughing at me. And the referee, I shit you not, the referee, he has this meat in the middle and he looks at me and he looks up and down at me and he puts his hand in his face and just shakes his head.
Oh man.
No joke.
Funny.
Oh, and I was so embarrassed. So yes, the singlet is rough.
Although
sure.
I thought your story was, I thought you were going to say he gave you one that was like way too big and baggy, so your ass is like falling out of it during.
Which and then I teabagged the guy I was wrestling with. It worked out pretty well. Balls hanging down outside of my singlet. The guy's like, tap done.
Yeah, he's like, "I'm out, forfeit." Yeah, I don't want that in my face. Oh man.
All right, back to the question.
What was the question? Helping wrestlers in junior high.
Wrestling.
Yeah. Aggression.
Yeah, I would say aggression is the biggest thing. And what I was going to say before we got side railed there is understand that it's not about wrestling.
Yeah.
What you're doing as a coach for these young men yes, it's wrestling, but it's not about wrestling. Totally. It's about life. And so what I would encourage you to do is take the traits and the characteristics of aggression and dominance and control and even violence to a degree, and teach those boys how to harness it off of the mats. or off of the court or off of the field or off of the baseball diamond. Teach them how to take that off of the mat and apply it towards being a father. Apply it towards your career aspirations. Apply it towards getting a promotion at work. Teach them how to harness that same set of characteristics that makes them young men, and how much more advantageous their life is going to be if they learn how to harness that effectively off the mats, just as they do on the mats.
Yeah. I love that advice, especially around like remembering it's just not about the sport, like years ago when coaching Chiave, when he was playing basketball, so much of my mind was like, win the game. And you know what I mean? I was losing sight of like, whoa, what are we doing here? Like, what's the long game? And it's very easy to lose sight of that when coaching, because you just want your team to win and it's fun. And, I don't know, at least I struggled with that in the first few years, but cool.
And the point is to win, right? Like that is the point.
Yeah.
That's why you keep score. That's why you practice. That's why you improve. But again, this is just a metaphor for life. So winning on the court or on the mats is just as well. It's actually less important than winning in the rest of life.
But the formula is pretty much very similar.
Same. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. JJ Wally, kind of a longer question here, but I think there's some good stuff in here. I'm a recent homeowner and I have been married for 1 month. We are trying for kids right away. Just after I bought my first house and a month before our wedding, I was offered an amazing promotion with my company, but it put me on a second shift with an hour and 30 minute commute. We decided to take it because I have been with my company for 5 years. This was the next step. I absolutely love my job, the people, and the work that I do. However, I'm struggling mentally and physically because it is hard to eat right, exercise, wasting 3 hours a day in the car with 4 hours of sleep. I'm only home 2 to 3 hours in the morning. Also, I'm struggling with only seeing my wife 2 days a week for the first year of our marriage. I plan to follow through with this promotion to give us a better life in the coming years. But in the meantime, how can I make the most of this short time at home throughout the week and with my wife on the weekends to stay motivated and happy?
I don't know.
Next question.
No, I mean, you took on this work at the expense of the things that you truly value.
Yeah.
And I know you're saying that, oh, well, it's a short stint and it's going to be better in the long haul. Like, I really hope that's the case. I don't know if it is going to be. I hope that's the case. And if that is true, then I think you really need to have a strategy to make that happen. Because I realize there are seasons for everything. Sometimes you're busy, sometimes you're not. Sometimes it's more work, sometimes it's more family, and there's seasons, and we can get through those seasons. So if you believe that it's truly a season in life, then you need to communicate that effectively to your wife and to your children as best you can. Yep. And you need to have an effective strategy for ensuring that's the case. Don't just say, oh, it'll be better next year. Why? Why will it be better next year? Like, what specifically is going to happen where it's actually going to be better? The other thing I would consider doing is looking for ways to make this work better. And here's an example. I don't know if it works in your situation, but here's some things you could be thinking of. Is there an opportunity for you to work at home 2 to 3 days a week? Again, I don't know what you guys do. I don't know your situation, but I just want you to be creative. Is there an opportunity for you to stay at home 2 days a week and to work from home and make those your administrative days? And then here's what you do. You go to your company and you say, hey, I would like to stay home on Tuesday and Thursday. Those are going to be my administrative days, and I'm going to get X, Y, and Z done. And the reason it's your best interest as a company is because I'm not going to be at the office, so you're not going to have that expense of me being there. I'm not going to have to reimburse you for gas. And I'm going to be more productive and more effective because I'm taking 3 more hours because I don't have that round trip commute each day. So I can donate or give an additional hour of time to the company on those days. And it's just going to be more effective for you. Again, I don't know if that works in your situation, but I think there's some opportunities for some creative solutions here. And if there is, then you need to look for those opportunities so that you can do what you feel is important with your career aspirations and also what's important for your family at the same time.
Totally. And let's be frank, the eating right, that's a little bit of an excuse, right? There's ways to eat good with a tough schedule. It just may not be what you would like it to be.
I think
mean,
meal
that's just
planning, meal
reality.
prep would be a big deal. On the
Yeah.
weekends, do
And then
15-minute
15-minute
days of meal
breaks.
planning.
Like I got guys here in the office, like on the top of every hour, they drop and burn out push-ups. That literally takes like a minute or two, right? That's possible, right? So there's strategy. It just, you may have to give up like looking stupid, dropping, doing push-ups or whatever. But that's the price you have to pay in your current circumstance. So you might need to get creative there too. So,
or, if let's say you get an hour lunch break and it takes you 10 minutes to eat, because it doesn't take you an hour to eat. It takes you 10 minutes to eat, and you go for a 30-minute run on your lunch break, or you run down to the local gym and you get a 2 or 3 day a week membership, and you go bust out a quick HIIT workout for 30 minutes on your lunch break. Like, is that ideal? No, it's not ideal, but it will help with your sanity. It'll help obviously with your energy levels. So those are really good points you're making, Kip.
Yeah. All right. Next question. I don't know. I think this is, I'm interested, but maybe this is a good question or not. Maybe we should screen this.
Pass it then. We don't need this one then.
Should we?
Just kidding. Go for it. No, I don't even know what it is.
Stephen Wayne Abel, your biggest questions you would have loved an answer from God.
I don't really get into that.
Yeah.
I just feel like I've never thought that. I just feel there's things that, in moments where I'm like, oh, why did this happen? Or why is it this way? Why can't it just be like this? And then I've been pretty okay. And this, I think, is a very powerful principle, is just to learn to accept that some things are within your control and that some things are not within your control. And so when I have those questions about why does it have to be this way, or why is the world the way it is, and I want to like reach out to God for that answer, it's like, it just is. And so even questioning it is not even just not accepting it. Like, just, it is what it is. So just deal with it and learn from it and grow from it and let it go. So I haven't really ever got into that I can think of right offhand, like the biggest question that I would ask God or want the answer to. I just figure, just live my life as best I can, try to live at his hand in his direction. And then when the time is right, some of those things will be revealed to me.
Yeah. I think what provides clarity of why I wouldn't want to know is because I don't know how I'd react, right? Like when I first read this question by Stephen, I thought, what'd be really insightful is if God said, hey, just so you know, this is what your potential is. I'm like, that'd be kind of cool, right? Because then I'd be like, oh, that's what I'm capable of. But I might result to that and go, oh, I'm amazing without putting any effort in, right? And then that may put me on a projection in life that ends up being negative and doesn't benefit me whatsoever, right? So I'm kind of like one of those. I think if we had answers to certain things, it might put us on a path of arrogance, or it might put us on a path that may not be beneficial to us. So I
think that's a good point. Well, I think this too. This is maybe just a worldview or a life belief that I have, is that I already know what my potential is. Okay, it's limitless. I already know that. Like, I don't need anybody to tell me that.
Yeah, good point.
It's limitless. Now, whether or not I realize it is a different story, but it's limitless. I already know life is going to work out. I already know that. And I know that I'm going to have some hardships. We're going to go through struggles and challenges. I know that. So that's it. That's all I need to know.
Whatever you do, just don't pray for humility. I always thought of that as a kid. I'm like, I'm never going to pray for humility because I don't want hardship in my life.
Well, just be humble, so you don't have to learn those lessons, right?
Totally.
Which is something I struggle with often, but yeah.
All right. Rudy Van Der Viver. Yonkers, whatever.
That's definitely right.
What techniques can a man use when in difficult situations to keep calm, hold himself together, and not let his emotions take over?
Well, I would say put yourself in more difficult situations in controlled environments, right? The more that you're in those situations, you're going to get exposed to difficulty and being uncomfortable, and you're going to be more calm in that chaos. Let's go back to jujitsu. The first time a grown man wraps his arms around your neck, you're probably going to freak out a little bit.
Yeah.
The 100th time he does it, like, you're still not going to be comfortable there, but it's manageable. And you learn little techniques and tips and strategies and to keep yourself calm and to breathe and to escape. Right. So the same thing is true about life. And if all you ever do is run away from hardship and challenge and adversity, then yeah, it's going to be hard when it inevitably catches up with you, and it will catch up with you. So do hard things physically. Jesse Itzler, when I had him on the podcast several months ago, talked about this one thing that he does every single year that scares him, that pushes him outside of his comfort zone, whether that's going to run a triathlon or an ultra endurance event or race, or going to some sort of event, or climbing one of the tallest peaks on the continent. Like, these are the things that he does so that the rest of the life, it's like perspective, right? The rest of life is like, oh, that's not hard because I just climbed Mount Everest. So if I do that, I just lived with David Goggins for, a month or whatever he did. So who's going to yell at me that could possibly be hard? I saw this in basic training. Even I saw kids, young men, who the drill sergeants would get in their face and yell at them, and they would completely break mentally, emotionally, physically. And the drill sergeants would get in my face, and I'm like, oh, okay, welcome to football. Yeah. Like, this is just football, or like, we're back at football. Yeah. So like, I had been in that situation so many times that it just didn't faze me anymore. So that's point number one. Deliberately difficult situations will help ease some of the discomfort when those situations arise. Now, outside of that, if you start to feel your emotions welling up and you losing control, it is okay to disengage at times.
Yeah.
Temporarily.
Yeah.
So it's not a permanent
put a time
retreat.
box on it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a permanent retreat. It's just a temporary disengagement to collect yourself. Right. And so we do the same thing in battle, right? You're in battle. It's not going well. And so you pull back, you regroup, you re-strategize, and then you re-engage. And so if you notice that your emotions are starting to get the better of you, whether it's anger or fear, and you feel like you might react emotionally, that's a good trigger for you to say, oh, pause, time out, let me disengage. Maybe you're having a difficult conversation at work. Hey, you know what? I got to take lunch, or I got to have to take these few calls. I really want to come back to this in an hour. We'll do it. And you put it on the calendar so you actually have a time to come back. Or with your wife or your kids, and you're starting to get upset, and maybe your voice is getting a little loud and you're getting a little impatient. Disengage. Hey guys, I'm just going to go outside, crank out a few push-ups, lift a little weights, go for a run, go for a walk, and then I'm going to come back. And then you come back and you re-engage in a more appropriate way.
Yeah. And re-engage. And I would only suggest that you have mental clarity on why you're upset as part of the coming back, right? Like, you may be calmed down, but if you didn't work through what was kind of firing you up, you need to do that before you come back. Otherwise, you're just going to repeat the same thing, right? So like, get clarity of like, okay, wait, why am I upset about this, right? Is it unique to the circumstance? To use a Ryan quote, does it serve the situation? Get clear on that mental state and why you're feeling the way you are before you come back to it.
That's right.
All right. Jimmy Bars, it's kind of a fun question. And I actually don't know this about you. He says, how do you use a public restroom while using an IWB holster? I don't even know what IWB stands for, but I'm assuming he's talking about appendix. Anyhow,
well, an IWB is, inside the waistband, but it doesn't have to be appendix. It could be on the hip or even on the back
or whatever. Yeah. Or like, 4 or 5 o'clock or whatever on the,
right. Like on the small of your back or on the back hip or front hip or your appendix. But he's asking what now?
Yeah. Well, his question, wouldn't appendix carry be cumbersome while using the bathroom, managing along with the old Johnson? Do you appendix carry? Do we even want to share how we carry? Is there a drawback to that? I'm trying to wonder if there's a drawback.
I don't, of the way we carry concealed,
or if we expressing publicly that we do carry.
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Yeah.
All right. So what do you carry?
I carry on my hip.
On your hip?
No, I carry on my hip. Yeah. Inside the waistband on my back hip. and I feel like I have pretty good access there. So I've never done an appendix carry. I know a lot of people do. So I don't know how they utilize the latrine if they've got the appendix carry, but do you
Let's
appendix
just
carry?
say I appendix carry. I should
so
probably be
you'd know.
washing. I should probably wash my
Your
my holster every so often, maybe just in case.
Probably if your wiener's touching it all the time,
yeah,
you're
there's
peeing
a
all
little
over
bit
it. You
of-
should probably should.
There's a little bit of shifting. You know what I mean? But I don't think it's that bad.
I don't
For
think
me, and we have another question in here. I'm not going to give credit to the other guy. Darn it. Some guy, he asked a question about like, he actually had a question about appendix carrying and what's comfortable, what's not. And my recommendation, find someone that has already been through this. Like I did this with Clint here in Utah. I'm like, hey, Clint, do you appendix carry? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, can I borrow your holster? And do you have
just remind me not to ever borrow your holster with the way you're talking about.
But literally I borrowed like 4 holsters from Clint first. And I actually wore them like all about a week.
Clint, just now so you know, bro. Yeah, now you know, Clint, you better sanitize those when you got them back.
But you get what I'm saying, just so I can figure out what's comfortable at work, what didn't work. So I tried every possible position on a holster before I decided.
Yeah. So I mean, plenty of people appendix carry. I can't imagine it'd be, that difficult where it couldn't be manageable or navigated. So
yeah.
What kind of gun are you carrying? Like if it's in the way of like what are you carrying? Like the 50 caliber Desert Eagle? Like, I carry a G43, which is a single stack, 9mm Glock. It's not, based on what I'm used to packing around, it's not that much more big of a difference. So
yeah, I appendix carry a 223.
You have an AR-15 and he appendix carries his AR-15. Got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. We know what we're talking about.
Yeah. I thought that was something else going down the side of your pant leg, but that's your rifle. Got it. Okay.
That is my rifle. I think the key thing is just find someone that has those holsters. You know what I mean? Just give it a try and figure out what works.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Agreed.
All joking aside. All right.
Take a couple more.
Yeah. So kind of similar question, but I think it's a little bit different. So we'll cover it. So Anthony Severino, what are both of your go-to de-stressing techniques? So maybe not a conflict conversation, having to step away, but just de-stressing.
Yeah. Well, jujitsu is a big thing for me. That's been powerful. Reading is also another thing. I can read, I can disengage from whatever else is going on and read. I've been writing a lot lately, mostly because I've got this second book coming out next year. So that's actually de-stressing because I'm not thinking about other things. I'm hyper-focused on the work. And I think that's probably the theme that runs through all of my de-stressing techniques is that it allows me to be hyper-focused on something else. So if it's jujitsu, I'm hyper-focused on training and learning and growing and staying in the positions I need to stay in. Even when I go to jujitsu, I'm very deliberate and intentional about what lessons I'm going with, like what I want to practice and what I want to take away. So even within just the overall arching jujitsu training, like I even get more specific, and that helps me be more hyper-focused on that particular thing. And I'm not thinking about work or the kids or my wife or whatever else. Same thing with reading. I'm reading, I'm not thinking about other things. Or writing, I'm thinking only about that. One thing actually I will do, and this is a de-stressing thing, but this is a little bit different because it's along the lines of trying to work through problems I might be dealing with, is a walk.
Yeah.
Right. So no headphones, no music. And I'll even leave my cell phone on the nightstand and I'll just go for a walk around our property, the groom property. Anyways, it's exactly 1 mile. So I can go around that and it might take me, 12 to 15 minutes, whatever, because I'm just walking. I'm not trying to set any records. And I just think, and I've been amazed how often I will just walk and an idea will come to me that will work me through a problem that I've been dealing with for weeks or maybe even months, in a simple walk without any other stimulus. Sometimes jar something a little loose so that I can think about things in a new context. And that's de-stressing, because the things that stress me out are, here's a problem, How are you going to
Unresolved.
navigate that challenge?
Yeah.
And going for a walk helps me navigate that challenge. So there's disengaging techniques and there's new perspective techniques. And so I use either one based on the situation.
Same way. Yeah. Jiu-jitsu, lifting weights. And I was going to just say that too, while you're sharing, is like, however, if I need to deal with something, it's not those things.
Exactly.
It's actually a run for me. Right. And it's amazing how just running, you're working all this stuff through your mind. And then you get done running. You're like, got it. I know what I need to do. I got clarity that I needed. And then you can address it. So yeah, I'm exactly the same.
Well, there's something to be aware of in these strategies that we're talking about. So let's talk about the de-stress strategies when you're working through a problem.
Yep.
So you go for a walk, you go for a run, whatever it is, and you give yourself the space to think about things in a new light. Okay. But there's something else that could happen. You want to be careful not to fall in this. And this is escapism or procrastination. Right. So you're like, oh, I'm stressed about it. So I'm going to go hang out with my buddies.
Avoid it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, like, are you really trying to de-stress or see things from a new light? Or are you trying to escape or procrastinate the things that you should be doing? And I can't make that call. Neither one of us can make that call for you. You have to make that call and be honest with yourself. Like, are you really trying to get a new perspective? And I'll do that with a book even, because I don't particularly enjoy the writing process. And so I'll catch myself saying, I'm going to go for a walk or a drive. A drive sometimes is what I'll do. I'll go for a drive, so I can think through this chapter. And then I end up putting on another podcast,
which generates more stress because you're not doing what you should have done and made some progress. Yeah.
Yeah. So you need to evaluate what it is you're really doing in those moments. Are you really trying to de-stress or work through an issue, or are you just trying to escape or procrastinate?
Yeah. Yeah. Copy.
Because sometimes a de-stress strategy, last thing, Kip, here.
Yeah. No.
A de-stress strategy is to tackle the thing you're stressed about.
Yeah.
Like if you're stressed out about meeting the deadline, then maybe the best thing you should do is to hit the deadline, and then your stress is gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Most things in my life, whenever I'm stressed, I find clarity, even if it's a situation that takes time to resolve. If I have a plan, like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This sucks. We're going to deal with it, but here's the strategy moving forward. I'm on a path now of, hey, we're going to address something or we're going to deal with something, and I have a way forward. Usually it doesn't take the stress away, but it provides a lot of comfort in like, hey, it's being dealt with. Right. So, yeah.
And I would say one other thing to add to the plan thing is it's not the plan for me that helps. It's the execution of the plan.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people they'll just plan and they think they're moving the needle. And to me, when you're planning, you're not actually moving the needle. You're getting ready to move the needle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So moving the needle is actually moving the needle, not planning to move it. But planning is important. You should plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
But don't think you're actually doing anything just by planning. Right.
Yeah. Copy. All right. David Rivas, you spoke once or twice about the differences of being nice and being kind. Would you share your insights on this for us again? A little louder for those in the back. Love and respect the movement, order of man.
Look, I think at its simplest form, the difference between being nice and being kind is being passive and being assertive. And look, I don't want to get wrapped up into semantics here, guys.
And kind meaning you're not attacking the person or whatever. You're addressing the issue.
Yeah,
and that's where
sure. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but let me preface by saying this is let's not get wrapped up in the semantics. A lot of times we do this. We play these word games, and I'll say nice and kind of. People are like, well, nice is not bad. And they say nice is actually this. And it's actually identical to the way I described kind. I really don't care which word you use. You guys understand the point. All right. I'm just using words so that we can articulate a point. Okay. So nice to me equates to being passive. I'm the nice guy. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm not willing to stand up for myself because I don't want to rock the boat. And look, again, people will say, well, that's not nice. That's this. Okay. Use whatever word. Use Kazasmo or what, like if that's what you want. Like, I don't care what word you use. You get the point.
Yeah.
It's being passive, it's being weak, it's being timid, it's being afraid, worried about confrontation, not wanting to offend anybody at your own level of risk, or other people that you care about. And you don't want to, like, I don't want to rock the boat. That's nice to me. Kind, on the other hand, is somebody who has at least a base level of respect for somebody else. And I always give a base level of respect to somebody
you're not
until
being a
they prove
punk.
they're not even worthy of that. But I think everybody deserves, as a default, a base level of respect. Everybody. And then if you prove otherwise, then we'll go backwards. But I don't jump to this ultimate tier of honor for people that I don't know. It's just a baseline level of respect. But also, you're not jeopardizing your own standards or morals or principles or beliefs just because you're afraid of risking the offending somebody or hurting somebody's feelings. A kind person is willing to articulate what's on their mind. They're willing to ask for what they want. They're not a jerk about it. They do it in a nice, respectful, tactful way, but still they're willing to risk offending other people to move forward into whatever their goals and objectives are, but they do it in a kind, respectful manner. And that's what I would say is the difference between being nice and being kind. Again, whatever word you want to use, I don't care. You understand the principle of it, which is, are you being passive and timid and weak? Or are you being assertive, which means that you're going to be a decent, respectful human being, but not be a pushover and still move forward into your objectives and the objectives of the people that you have a responsibility for.
Check.
Let's take one or two more.
Man, we got a lot. We're not going through these as much. If we don't get to your questions, guys,
let's take that here. Let's end on this one. Somebody asked about the tweet that I had made the other day.
Yeah,
about
let me
politics.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about that, because I think that's actually worthy of discussion.
Yeah. So Joseph O'Neill, he is a screenshot, and the screenshot was, do you want to, I don't have the screenshot in my notes here. I can probably pull it up on Facebook. Here, hold on.
Yeah.
I got this.
One of us can.
Yeah. I'll pull it up.
Because I had made, while you're pulling that up, I had made a post on Twitter the other day, which you can
at Ryan Mickler. That's
right. And we can tell you as soon as we pull it up here exactly what it said.
Yeah. It said something about,
I can find it here.
Kip is a
Kip is, oh no, here it is. Oh. Okay, so here it is. So here's what I posted 4 days ago. I said, I've always questioned why the left is the way they are. I now realize that whether they're ignorant, idiotic, or immoral makes no difference. They are the enemy. Yeah. And so that's what I posted. Yeah. And so Joseph O'Neill's question to that is this a real tweet? If so, how does this help the country or the political discourse in it? Maybe an image of the text that says, tweet Ryan Mickler, I've always questioned why the left. Okay. I guess I did have the quote. Yeah. You had it there. You had it written down. Okay. Yeah. So, and what I responded back is, he said, how does this help political discourse? How does this help? Whatever he said. Is this a real tweet? Yes, it's a real tweet. And yes, I absolutely believe that. And I think I responded with something to the effect of, you're assuming that the left doesn't already consider you the enemy, and that they're actually interested in reconciliation or cooperation with, what did I say? The sane, freedom-loving Americans that most of us are. Yeah. Like that to me is a big assumption, that just because I make this statement, that this other side of the aisle is so interested in even having a reasonable discussion. And they've proven time and time again that they aren't. Now, let me say this. A leftist is not the same as someone who's liberal. I have liberal people in my life. I have family members who are on what I would say the left side of the aisle. They're liberal in their perspective and their political viewpoints. I don't agree with them always. In fact, most of the time, politically and culturally, I don't. But I don't think they're the enemy, right? I don't think that they're out to destroy what this country has created, and that to me is a liberal. But we know there's varying degrees of the political spectrum on both sides of the aisle. Yeah, right and left. And a leftist, to me, is somebody who is so far extreme on the left that they're not even interested in a reasonable, rational discussion, let alone a free America. They're not even interested in that. In fact, what they're interested in is communism. They're interested in the opposite of what I'm interested in. And communism is the enemy. 100%. There's no discussion I could have with a communist or somebody who's a far leftist that we would walk away with some sort of mutual understanding of each other. None. You're never going to convince me that communism is better than what we have created in this country. And that's what we're at risk with this country, is moving in that direction. And that's an enemy to freedom, to liberty, to the pursuit of happiness. So yeah, that isn't hyperbole for me. That isn't just rhetorical. Now, how does it help political discourse? What makes you think I'm interested in political discourse with somebody I consider to be the enemy? I'm not even interested in it with the far left, because they're not interested in compromise. They're not interested in a rational, level-headed discussion. They're not. So what I'm interested in is rallying those who are interested in the same things that we are to this side.
Yeah.
And we have people who are on the left side of the aisle who are what I would say liberal, who believe a lot of what we believe. They don't agree with everything I say, and that's understandable. And I'm glad they're here, because I hope I can shed some light on some things that might help them see culturally, societally, some problems I feel exist, and they'll move closer to what I believe, again, this is my opinion, is a more productive way of living our lives and leading our families and communities and everything else.
Yeah.
But a leftist,
or maybe, yeah,
no, they're not. They're not interested in it. And we have leftists that have permeated every fabric of society, from medical to education to the political arena. And those people need to be rooted out, because they're the enemy. They represent the antithesis of what we as Americans stand for. So yeah, that was a real tweet, and I really mean it.
It's great. Well, and I was just going to say, and where it could help with the political discourse is for people to go, oh yeah, you know what? I don't associate as left. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, liberals that might agree with you from this perspective should kind of speak up and say, yeah, no, that's not me. Right. Like, just because I vote Democrat doesn't mean that I see everything the same way as, all these extreme lefts. Right. And they should,
the right side of the aisle should do that too.
I'm the same way. I get pissed off. Like, I get a text message or a stupid phone call saying, oh, you're part of the Republican Party, you want to donate? I'm like, I don't donate to the Republican Party. Right. I donate to candidates that represent my viewpoints, period. Right. Like, and I don't know. I think there's some value for us to provide clarity of where we stand.
Look, here's how I'll wrap it up. If somebody's on the left of some societal or cultural issues, and they want to have a rational discussion about things, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
That they're not the enemy to me, because I think people on the left still want a free America. I still believe they want freedom, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. I think that's what they want. And we just see the way we're going to get to it differently.
Yeah.
I don't think leftists want that.
Yeah. And it's easy, right? You just turn on the TV and it's just like all logic is gone, right? Like no one ever took debate, apparently. Right. And the whole thing is just full of fallacies, slippery slopes, lack of logical, critical thinking, even evidence for that matter. I mean, it blows my mind. Some of the stuff I hear. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. And, here's maybe an example, and it's maybe a silly or simplified example. Of course it is. But if I want to teach my kids math, and I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm going to teach it to them, or I'm going to have somebody else teach it to them, and that person comes and says, well, here's how I teach it, and they don't believe that 2 + 2 is 4, Like, I'm not going to have a conversation with that person. Like, I'm not going to have a conversation about advanced calculus with somebody who doesn't believe that 2 + 2 = 4. Like, how could we ever come to some sort of mutual understanding about that?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that we can.
Yeah.
And that's the point of this, is that the foundational principles are so at odds with each other that I'm not interested in discourse in that way, because it's not worth it. It's a waste of time. It's futile.
Yeah. Well, and it's not a discourse. It is
Right.
just noise for them. Like, there is
on both. Well, for me too.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
whatever I say is going to fall on deaf ears. Whatever they say is going to fall on deaf ears. So let's just worry about talking to the other people who maybe are rational, level-headed people, regardless of what side of the political aisle they sit on. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, brother.
Man.
I have a hard stop.
You got a jet.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you check out the Iron Council. Again, we're closed, but we're opening up here in the next week or so. December 1st, we'll open that back up. orderofman.com/Iron Council. Check out the store. We're going to be shipping orders as of the release of this podcast. So we're back on shipping. So your stuff's going to be out. We're going to get it to you for Christmas and all of that. I have signed books coming in. Kip, I see the book over your shoulder there. I've got signed copies of Sovereignty that'll be here next week, I believe. We've got hoodie. We've got all kinds of stuff. Just go check it out at store.orderofman.com. Kip, appreciate you, brother. Guys, I appreciate your questions. We'll catch you on Friday. Until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.